Have you ever found somebody just lazing around your house and then you realize it's not a family member? So today we're talking about squatters.
Look, it was one time you had the door unlocked, the couch looked comfy. I have a key.
It's called a trap. Just saying, we are in Texas.
There have been many cases over the years of people that have reported people that are living in their homes that are not supposed to be there.
Like just what?
Yeah, these people are known as squatters. Unfortunately, there are a little too many stories to count, but today we're going to talk to you about 4 different stories of squatters that have been found in someone's apartment or house, and they weren't supposed to be there.
Oh, this should be fun. All right, what you got here?
Well, reaching over. You know what? I'll let you go first. You can talk about Mr. Miguel Lua. Or Luna.
I think it's Miguel Lau.
Miguel.
Anyway, hold on. I want to use your fancy. There we go.
My pop socket. Not a sponsor.
So, an identified, a woman who wants to remain unidentified in Modesto, California, found her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Miguel Lau. She believed that she had broken into her house. One night, she plugged her cell phone to charge overnight and found the phone missing. So she called the police. Inside of her attic, they found Miguel under some insulation, which,
yeah.
Ow.
Which, by the way, insulation is not cozy.
It's not a blanket
by
or a comforter
any means
at all. So apparently he had been there purposefully spying on her, and yes, he did take the cell phone. And this isn't the first time he did it. This was actually the second time he had lived in an ex-girlfriend's house without permission. Apparently...
From what I can understand about that particular story,
Wow.
Miguel stole her cell phone in order to keep an eye on the fact that if she was contacting other men, they were broken up already. It didn't matter.
So the other girlfriend that happened in July of 2010. He did this in December 2010, so clearly y'all should have kept him behind bars a little bit longer because this old boy wasn't going to learn his lesson. Oh my God. He was living in the attic. Apparently he had been there for quite some time. Man, I don't know what I would do if I found somebody just living in my attic besides kill them.
The only person we've ever found living in your attic was already dead and was a mouse.
And I did not kill that one.
Man.
That death was not on me.
I just want to point out that when that particular mouse event happened, we made an entire mess of this room because we thought it was in this room.
And unfortunately, we had to search what I like to collectively call the toy vault.
The room you don't open.
You just look inside and go, ooh, that's a problem, and just kind of throw things in there. Anyway, next squatter story.
So there is a group of students that were living on campus in Ohio State University. This was back in 2013. So from what I can understand within there, when they would go inside and find cabinets open, doors open, the toilet seat up, things like that, cupboards were left open, the microwave door wasn't even closed. So not only was this squatter living there and not supposed to be there, but man, they're rude. Just close the cabinet door. That's all you got to do.
You got to be a little bit more stealthy than that.
But it kept happening, so they were investigating. So these Ohio students had a basement inside of the building that they were renting, right? And inside the basement, there was a door, and the landlord said that the door has always been locked. They've never been able to figure out how to open that door. So they would go downstairs, and that door was just locked. So eventually, they managed to get the door down. They believed that door was a utility closet, so they didn't think it was an actual room. They thought maybe like a water heater or something was inside there. So it wasn't something that was like, oh, what's behind the door? You know, it's an obvious room. No, they just thought it was like a utility thing. But what ended up happening is they got a maintenance team to come and break down the door to find out it was a fully furnished bedroom. Inside, there was a TV going. There was posters on the wall. They had some textbooks. There was a sink and its own private toilet.
What?
Yeah, so it had a bed inside, all of it. So the Ohio State University
So he was the one with the key?
Yeah, so he had a key, and I think there was a second entryway inside of there. I think it was a window. But from what they could understand is the guy kept coming in, would go inside of the room and just lock the room. And no one ever heard like the TV going because, of course, it was downstairs. So unless they happened to go down there.
Was he a student? Here.
From what I can understand, the squatter wasn't a student. They only knew him as Jeremy. Apparently, they did meet him at some point. His name was Jeremy. They had the locks completely changed,
fully furnished.
fully furnished like a college student would furnish it.
That's
So
still good enough for you to have a home.
it was still like a bed. It was still a bed with no frame. It was just on the floor. It had like posters, not framed or anything, just on the wall.
I've slept in worse.
Yeah, oh no. We've all left in those kind of conditions. It's just that's the type of thing. So they eventually identified it was a student only. I'm sorry, it was a student. His name was Jeremy. But
This dude should be congratulated. I'm sorry. He found a way to game the system. Cool. I applaud you, sir.
so they had seen Jeremy in the house before, but they thought it was one of the other roommates' friends because there were like 4 or 5 guys living in that place at the same time.
It's one of those. Hey man, what's up?
Exactly.
Hey.
They were just like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?
Hey, you know
Hey,
that guy?
Jeremy? All right, cool." But they didn't realize that he was living there, so they had
see him around all the time, so
they
clearly
had
he belongs
all
here.
they had all the locks changed, including to that room as well.
Wait,
So
did
that-
Jeremy come back?
I don't think Jeremy ever came back after they discovered his
Aw,
area.
I feel bad.
Yeah, Jeremy.
He should get his stuff back. Here's your posters, bro.
So yeah, Jeremy did officially get kicked out of his own apartment, but he wasn't paying rent or anything, so he was a squatter.
Do we have time? Do we have a time frame for how long he lived there? Because I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I applaud this
specifically.
man. Anyway,
You can actually find there's a video interview with the Ohio State's university students.
man.
You can actually go and watch that interview. They did talk about it.
maybe they have more detail than us just reading this crap. But anyway, all right, here we go. So in 2008, this comes from Kasuya, Japan. A man was convinced someone was repeatedly breaking into his home and stealing food. So he was sure that he locked all of his doors and then he left. But he came back and found that still food was missing. So he set up a surveillance camera that could send images to his cell phone.
Man,
So while he was out, the camera went off, and guess what? There was someone in his locked and secured home. Apparently, though, they didn't catch him immediately, so he called the police. They didn't find anybody. So then he went back another time and then found a 58-year-old man, Tatsuko Horikawa, hiding in a closet. Turns out that this homeless woman had been living in the top shelf of the man's closet for about a year. She had snuck in when he left the house without locking the door and just never left.
so the thing about this story that I always thought was interesting.
Oh, and also she was apparently squatting in other people's houses as well. So she had a summer home and then like a winter home.
It's crazy though, because with that particular story, I was always so confused by the fact that this person had to have been small enough to live inside of the closet. Because closets, it doesn't matter what country you're in. Closets don't generally have hidden compartments in
And
them.
also closets in Japan are very small.
So, some of them, yeah. So, but the point is that person had to have been in that closet.
Well, he was
But
in a house, too,
The,
so.
the crazy thing is, though, is if that means that there was nothing in that closet that he ever needed. So he just never opened the door and was like, "Oh, look, there's a person." I know I looked off camera here because there's a closet over that way, but,
Okay, but mine are full of stuff. No one else can. There's no room for a human being to live in there.
that's the whole point. Is like somebody was living in someone's closet. So I used to read about some of these squatter stories. They just kind of showed up on my YouTube or whatever I was actually on, and because of the amount of squatter stories that I had seen, including this next and final story we're going to talk about,
Okay.
has made me so paranoid every time I move into someplace new that I check every apartment I moved into. I have checked to see if there was hidden nooks and crannies and weird spots that somebody could live in.
You don't want anybody popping up and saying, "Hey, I was here first."
Exactly. So, for example, this one's not a particular story that we've seen, but there is a guy who was living in New York. He's an LA actor now.
Okay.
So he lives in LA, but this was like about 10 years ago. He was living in New York. I showed you this video before.
Yes, this is the one.
He was in his apartment, and every day he kept finding food missing. He thought maybe it was his girlfriend taking some food or leaving the fridge open, little things like that, but it wasn't. So he decided to come in and set up a security camera overnight. So when
We're gonna link to this video because everyone should watch this
the
one.
video we'll have in the description. But he had a security camera, and above the door to his entryway was this weird little like
Crawl
nook,
space kind of thing?
Yeah. So he described down from it it was a storage loft area inside of his apartment. It didn't have any connection to the outside. There was no ventilation. It goes pretty deep. I mean, as deep as like a New York apartment can go.
Enough,
But
apparently.
at night she would crawl down and move his stuff, and then go and take food
Watch
and
TV.
drink. Yeah, she watched TV, which is crazy because you have to be a sound sleeper to not hear the TV going. But then she would pee in the sink.
Yeah, I'm not going to cast too much judgment on that. Look, sometimes you got to make do. But anyway,
But
dude,
yeah,
she crawled out of that crawl space like Samara out of a TV.
it was incredibly disturbing. So what he was saying is that even though he's an actor, that video was completely real. He doesn't know anything about her. He saw the video footage. He immediately left his apartment and called the police. The police got her down. She didn't have anything to say. It says that she was probably there for at least a couple months.
Wow.
I mean, that in the video, it actually shows that she had the TV on, turned it off. I don't know if she turned it off right away.
She must have heard him coming.
But she ducked and hid. So that means even when he woke up in the middle of the night, she was listening to him and then would go and hide and he would notice.
How many times has she watched him sleep?
So it was that particular video that drove me over the edge, and I just had to go and find places that in my apartment just to make sure. And I now appreciate bolt locks.
None of these are in Texas, because in Texas
Texas, you got the gun.
you'd get murdered for this. I don't know you.
Yeah, so they had no idea how long that she's been in there, but man, all I can say, and the stories happen. There's tons of people in the entire country. There's tons of people outside of the country. So there's a lot of people in the world. Just double check your apartment. Make sure you lock your doors. If you're home, keep an eye on the areas that you have unlocked. And
So you're saying my challenge is to get inside of your apartment and see how long it takes for you to notice I'm in there.
There's so much stuff in there. My apartment's so small. I honestly don't think there's a place you could hide.
You'll see.
My closet's filled with figures, okay?
We'll put that to the test.
But
That is my mission. Should I choose to accept it now?
those are our crazy stories about squatters. So obviously, it's a weird topic, but we felt like we needed to say it, considering one of our past episodes that we kind of brought it up on. So craziest things you found inside of an attic.
Get a dog.
My cat's not going to help, but we want to go ahead and thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Tell us if there's any other crazy stories. Tell us about your crazy stories. If you found any, we're definitely interested. Leave your comment. Don't forget to turn on that notification bell. We've got new stuff coming out. So new Nerds with Coffee episodes come out every Monday and Friday, and we've got other shows. We've got other things in the work for the channels as well. So we want to make sure that you catch every single one of those great videos. So thank you for stopping by for a cup of coffee, and we will see you in the next episode.